Welcome back, lovely ladies. If you want to become the woman of your dreams, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. And join our Patreon for even more exclusive content. Now, let's dive into today's story.
Jonas stood alone in his cramped apartment, the early afternoon light angling in through thin blinds and painting stripes across the hardwood floor. He was 23, lean with a delicate frame, and he kept his auburn hair cut short just above his ears. A faint shadow of stubble colored his jawline, though he'd often considered shaving it clean. He stood in front of a mirror he had propped against the wall, worn paint chipped around its edges. The room was small, a single chair and a desk shoved against one wall, a simple bed with rumpled sheets against the other. Stacks of art textbooks occupied the corner. Outside, car horns and distant laughter drifted from the open window. In front of the mirror, he carefully stepped into a knee-length floral dress he had purchased online months ago. The fabric was soft, and as he pulled it over his shoulders, he checked the fit. A lace collar brushed the base of his neck, and the waist fit snugly, neither too loose nor too tight. He ran his hands along the skirt and studied the reflection. There he was, still himself, yet something inside felt a bit more right. He didn't know how others would react if they saw him this way, and that anxiety turned his stomach. His phone buzzed on the desk. He stepped over and picked it up. A message from Ariana. "Hey, are we still on for tomorrow? Coffee at Blue Harbor?" Ariana had been his friend since they enrolled in the same design course at the local university. They were both seniors, around the same age, both trying to survive the demands of class projects and portfolio reviews. She was outspoken, a tall woman with a shock of dark curly hair and a habit of wearing bold patterns that turned heads. He considered telling her about the clothes hidden in his closet. She knew him fairly well, but he had never told her the full story of why he avoided certain social events and why he always seemed restless. He typed back, "Yes, I'll be there. Let's meet at 10. The rest of that day Jonas kept mostly to himself, switching between casual sweatpants and t-shirts whenever he left his apartment to pick up groceries or check mail. He carefully folded the dress and tucked it away before stepping out. But that night, before bed, he slipped it on one more time. He looked in the mirror and sighed, unsure yet determined to be more open with someone he trusted. The next morning, Jonas hurried to the coffee shop. Ariana was already at a table, tapping her pen against her notebook. She wore a pair of wide-legged trousers in vibrant green and a cream blouse. Her jewelry glinted in the morning sun. He approached, offering a small smile. "Morning," he said as he settled into the chair opposite her. "You look tired," Ariana said, tilting her head. "Everything okay?" "I'm fine," he replied. "Just up late thinking." Ariana gave him a searching look. "We've been friends for a while," she said. "I can tell when something's on your mind." Jonas cleared his throat, glancing at the barista who was calling out orders. Low chatter filled the room. I've been wanting to talk to you about something personal." Her posture changed slightly, more attentive, patient. "Sure, you can tell me anything," Ariana said, leaning forward. He hesitated. "At my apartment, I've been trying on different kinds of clothes," he said softly. "Dresses and skirts. It's not something I've told anyone." Ariana's gaze softened. She didn't look shocked or unsettled. She just nodded. "Okay," she said, her voice even, encouraging him to go on. He relaxed slightly. "I don't hate my normal clothes or anything," he said, fingers tapping lightly on the table. "But when I wear these other outfits, I feel comfortable. I've always been too scared to show it to anyone." Ariana reached across the table and gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. "I'm glad you told me," she said. "I'm not judging. Actually, I think it's great you found something that makes you feel more you." Jonas let out a long breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "I don't know how others will react. The idea of wearing something openly, even just a blouse in public, it makes me nervous." Ariana's eyes lit up. "You know what would help? Let's go shopping. We can find something that suits your style and see how you feel. I'll be with you." He considered it for a moment. His heart fluttered at the idea. "Maybe later this week?" "Why not tomorrow after class?" she countered. "There's a great thrift store downtown with a wide range of clothes. The owner is friendly and the place is pretty quiet. It might be a good starting point. Jonas smiled. All right, tomorrow after class. They chatted about their design projects, the university's upcoming art and fashion showcase, and sipped their coffees. Despite the lingering uncertainty, Jonas felt lighter as he left, relieved he had finally shared something that had weighed on him for so long. The next day after their lectures, Ariana took Jonas downtown to a thrift store known as the Lavender Rack. It was a small place with wooden floors, racks of vintage dresses, scarves, trousers, and jackets. An older woman with silver hair and warm eyes greeted them at the entrance. Her name tag read, Marisol. "Let me know if you need any help," Marisol said, stepping aside so they could browse. Ariana nudged Jonas gently. "Let's start with something subtle," she said, pulling out a knee-length black skirt with a subtle embroidered pattern near the hem. "How about this?" Jonas ran his hand over the fabric. "It's nice," he said quietly. "I like the detail." Ariana smiled and hung it over her arm. She picked out a light blue blouse with flared sleeves and a rose-patterned scarf. Jonas hesitated in front of a rack of dresses and pulled out a soft gray sundress with a simple cut. He looked around nervously. Ariana glanced at him. "Try it," she encouraged. "Just see how it fits." Jonas carried the items to a dressing room at the back. Inside, he slipped out of his jeans and t-shirt and tried on the skirt. He looked at himself in the small mirror inside the booth. It fit well at the waist, and when he stepped out to show Ariana, she nodded approvingly. "Looks good on you," she said, smiling. "It works with your frame." Marisol wandered over. She didn't raise an eyebrow, just offered a nod and a kind smile. "That skirt suits you," she said plainly. "If you like it, we can adjust the length if needed." Jonas felt a small warmth in his chest. "I think I'll keep it," he said. He tried on the blouse and the dress. Ariana found a comfortable cardigan to go with the dress, and soon Jonas found himself at the register with a small stack of garments that felt like small steps toward something new in his everyday life. As they left, Ariana bumped his shoulder lightly. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" He shook his head, holding the paper bag of clothes. "No, it wasn't." Back at his apartment that evening, Jonas hung his new clothes next to his usual shirts and jeans. The two sections looked distinct, but he liked knowing they were there, waiting for him. He decided to try something small the following night, maybe just wearing the blouse under a jacket when he went out to grab a late snack at the corner store. Just a quick outing in something that reflected what he wanted. The next evening, he slipped on the blue blouse, a pair of black trousers, and a light jacket. He studied himself in the mirror, making small adjustments to the scarf Ariana had picked out. He felt a nervous twist in his stomach. After pacing his apartment a few times, he finally stepped outside into the hallway. Luke, his neighbor across the hall, happened to step out at the same time. Luke was tall, about 25, always wearing flannels and jeans. He paused when he saw Jonas. For a moment, Jonas thought Luke might say something cutting or give him a strange look. Instead, Luke just nodded and gave a small wave. "Hey, Jonas," he said, as if nothing were unusual. "Hey," Jonas managed, trying to keep his voice steady. He could sense Luke glancing at the outfit, but not with disdain. It seemed more like curiosity. Luke said nothing else and headed down the stairs. Jonas followed, relieved not to have faced any harsh words. Outside, it was quiet except for a couple walking a dog and a person smoking near the corner. Jonas walked toward the small store, each footstep echoing in his ears. He tried to act natural, focusing on the soft evening light and the smell of jasmine from a nearby garden. A few steps from the store entrance, a stranger walking by glanced at him. He couldn't read the person's expression, somewhere between confusion and amusement. Jonas looked away, heart pounding. After buying a loaf of bread and some milk, he headed back. On the way, a pair of voices behind him started to chuckle. He couldn't make out what they said, but the mocking tone pricked at his skin. He hurried home, shoulders tense. By the time he reached his door, he was upset, though he tried not to let it show. Later that night, as he sat on his bed staring at the wall, his phone pinged. A message from Ariana. "How did it go?" He typed back slowly. "Okay, some odd looks, but I'm fine." Then he put the phone aside and lay back, letting his thoughts swirl. He felt tested, rattled by those who seemed ready to laugh at him, but he also felt a small measure of relief for having stepped outside as he was. He had done it, no matter how small the step. The next morning, Ariana insisted they meet at a nearby cafe. When Jonas arrived, Ariana ordered a tea and motioned him to sit. "You seem tense," she said quietly. "What happened?" He told her about the store trip, about Luke, who seemed fine, and the couple of strangers who seemed amused. Ariana listened carefully. "Look," she said, "people can be rude, but don't let them scare you off. It's your life." Jonas nodded, though he didn't feel entirely reassured. Ariana leaned forward, lowering her voice. "You know the student showcase I mentioned? It's in about 2 weeks. A bunch of students will display their design work, fashion, graphics, sculpture, all of it. You could consider participating or at least attending dressed in something you like. It's a safer environment. Many people who come are open-minded. At worst, they might be surprised, but you won't be alone." He considered this, looking down into his coffee. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," he said. "It's one thing walking to the store, another to be at a campus event." Ariana reached across and patted his hand. "Just think about it. I'll be showcasing some fabric designs, and you could at least help me set up. Wear what you want, or don't. Your call." Jonas said he would think about it. Before leaving, Ariana gave him a hug, and Jonas headed back home, wondering if he could really stand in front of classmates and strangers. That afternoon, Jonas tried to call his parents. They lived a few hours away and had always been a bit conservative in their thinking. He hadn't spoken much to them about anything personal since he moved out for college. The phone rang twice before his mother picked up. "Hi, Mom," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "How are you?" "Jonas, good to hear from you," she said. He could hear a TV in the background, some game show music. "How's school?" "It's fine," he replied. "I've been working on my portfolio, considering what to do after graduation." His father's voice sounded distant in the background. "Who's that?" Jonas heard him ask. "It's Jonas," his mother called back, then spoke into the phone. "Your dad wants to know if everything's all right." Jonas swallowed. He wanted to tell them more about his life, about his interests, but the words wouldn't form. Instead, he tried to hint at it. "I've been experimenting with different kinds of clothing designs, branching out," he said, voice quieter now. "I've been wearing some different styles." A long pause. Then his mother's voice returned, uncertain. "What do you mean by different styles, Jonas?" He tried to phrase it as gently as possible. "I've been incorporating some items typically found in women's sections," he said. "Dresses, skirts. It feels good. I thought you should know." Silence stretched on the line. He could almost picture them sitting in their living room, staring at each other in confusion. His father came on, his tone firm. "Jonas, what's this about? You've always been a normal kid. What's gotten into you?" Jonas felt a tightness in his chest. "It's just clothing, Dad. It's a choice I'm making. I don't think it hurts anyone." "You're an adult now," his father said. "You can do what you want, but I can't say I like hearing this." His mother added softly, "I'm not sure it's a good idea for you to get involved in that. People can be cruel." Jonas cleared his throat, trying not to let his voice tremble. "I know. Thanks for picking up. I just wanted you to know." "All right, Jonas," his mother said, her voice distant. "Take care." They ended the call, leaving Jonas sitting on the edge of his bed, phone in hand. He stared at the floor and tried to steady his breathing. It had gone about as expected, yet it still stung. He spent the next few days going to class, chatting briefly with Ariana, and keeping mostly to himself at home. Each night he pulled out his clothes and tried on a few outfits. He liked pairing the black skirt with a collared shirt, or the gray sundress with the cardigan. He often imagined wearing them at the showcase. Ariana had said it was a welcoming environment. Maybe it would be a place where he could express himself more fully. He still felt uneasy at the thought of standing in a crowd. One evening, as Jonas was adjusting a blouse in front of his mirror, there was a soft knock at his apartment door. He changed quickly into jeans and a t-shirt and opened it. Luke stood there holding a small box. "Hey," Luke said, a bit hesitant. "I've got some leftover pastries from a bakery my cousin works at. Thought I'd share." He offered the box. Jonas blinked. "Oh, thanks. Come in." Luke stepped inside, glancing around at the sparse furniture. "I remember the other night," he said carefully. "I saw you wearing something different. I just wanted to say I think it's cool you're doing your own thing." Jonas tightened his grip on the box. You do? He asked quietly. Luke nodded. Why not? Everyone's got their own style. I don't think it's a big deal. He smiled. I mean, I'm no fashion expert, but you looked good. Jonas felt a wave of relief. That means a lot, Luke. They talked for a bit, eating one of the pastries. Luke described some local music events happening next month, and Jonas mentioned the upcoming student showcase. Luke said he might drop by to see what it was about. The visit was brief, but as Luke left, Jonas felt grateful. A friendly word could go a long way. Later that night, Jonas messaged Ariana, I'll do it. I'll wear what I want at the showcase. Her reply came quickly. That's what I like to hear. In the days leading up to the event, Jonas prepared carefully. He chose the black skirt with embroidered details and paired it with a simple white blouse. He added a thin belt to accentuate his waist and the rose-patterned scarf Ariana had chosen. He practiced walking in front of the mirror, trying different shoes to see what was most comfortable. Ariana came over one afternoon and helped him style his hair a bit, just adding a gentle wave. The morning of the showcase, Jonas woke early, feeling knots in his stomach. He ate toast mechanically and sipped tea. Ariana was setting up a table to display her textile work, large swatches of fabric with intricate patterns and colors. The event was held in a large hall at the university, with booths and stands arranged in rows. Students and visitors wandered, examining paintings, sculptures, and clothing designs from various classes. Jonas arrived wearing jeans and a hoodie over his chosen outfit. He had decided to change once inside. Ariana greeted him at the entrance, wearing a long flowing skirt and a top patterned with geometric shapes. You ready? She asked, giving him a reassuring smile. As ready as I can be, he said. Where's the changing area? Ariana pointed to a makeshift backstage area behind a curtain. Over there. Take your time. I'll be at my booth. Jonas slipped behind the curtain and changed out of his hoodie and jeans. He carefully put on the blouse, scarf, and skirt, tucking the hoodie and jeans into his bag. He looked at himself in a small handheld mirror. His heart hammered. This time it wasn't just a walk to the store. It was an event filled with peers, strangers, and professors. He waited a moment, breathing in and out, then stepped out into the hall. People were busy mingling, and for a second no one noticed him. He moved slowly toward Ariana's booth, feeling the soft swish of the skirt against his legs. Ariana spotted him and gave a quiet thumbs up, smiling broadly. A classmate named Emma approached. Emma was in their design course and often wore layered outfits with bright colors. She looked Jonas up and down with curiosity. Hey, is that one of the pieces you were talking about? She asked, gesturing to his skirt. Jonas nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. Yeah, he said. I've been trying different styles. Emma shrugged. Cool, she said simply, before turning to Ariana's fabrics. Another classmate, Marcus, walked by and paused, gave a small nod and moved on. No one was laughing or whispering loudly. If anyone was surprised, they mostly kept it to themselves. An older professor came by, Dr. Alvarez, known for her modern art lectures. She adjusted her glasses and said, That's a lovely skirt, Jonas. It goes well with the scarf. Her voice was calm, without a trace of mockery. Are you planning to create your own line? Jonas cleared his throat. Maybe someday. Right now I'm still exploring. Dr. Alvarez smiled. That's what these years are for. Then she drifted off to speak to another student. Jonas stood beside Ariana's display, hands clasped in front of him. He watched attendees move through the hall. A few lingered near him, curious but not hostile. He spotted Luke near the entrance, talking to someone he knew. Luke caught his eye and gave him an encouraging nod. Jonas managed a small wave back. Ariana touched his shoulder. How do you feel? She asked softly. He paused, choosing his words carefully. It feels right to be here like this, he said. I know some people might not understand, but I'm glad I did it. Ariana grinned. I'm proud of you. As the showcase continued, Jonas relaxed slightly. He moved around the room looking at other students' projects. No one stopped him to question his choices harshly. A couple of people asked where he got his scarf or complimented the cut of the blouse. The tension eased from his shoulders. Toward the end of the event, a small crowd gathered at the center stage where a few students had planned a short presentation. Ariana nudged Jonas. They're going to introduce some students who contributed to the program, she said. I think they'll call us up. Jonas swallowed. Us? She nodded. We submitted some design concepts together, remember? Indeed, he had helped Ariana with some pattern layouts a few weeks back. They hadn't talked much about the presentation, but apparently Ariana had included his name. Just stand with me, she said. We'll be on stage for a moment. Jonas followed Ariana to the side of the small stage. A student organizer stepped up to the microphone and called a few names, including Ariana's and Jonas's. The group went up. Jonas stood under the bright lights, facing the audience, classmates, professors, visitors. He could see Luke leaning against the back wall, arms folded, and Emma chatting with Marcus off to the side. Everyone looked so normal, as if this were any other event. The organizer praised the group for their design input, highlighting Ariana's fabric work. Jonas tried not to fidget with his skirt's hem. His heart beat fast, but no one gasped or sneered. It was just a moment like any other. Stepping down from the stage after the brief recognition, Jonas felt Ariana pat his back. "See?" she said quietly. "You can do this." The hall began to empty as the showcase wound down. Jonas helped Ariana pack her fabrics and carry them outside. The air was crisp and the afternoon sun angled low in the sky. Luke emerged from the building and approached them. "Hey," he said. "You looked great up there." Jonas smiled. "Thanks, Luke." Ariana yawned. "I'm beat. Let's head somewhere and grab a bite." They ended up at a small diner near the university. Jonas kept his outfit on. There was no reason to change now. He slid into a booth beside Ariana, while Luke took the seat opposite. The waitress took their orders without a second glance. Over a plate of fries and a milkshake, Jonas reflected on the day. He'd been terrified that people would mock him, or worse, but it felt like the world had not fallen apart. Ariana chatted about her next projects, and Luke talked about a concert he wanted to attend. Occasionally, Jonas noticed a stranger glance at him, but he let it roll off. After they finished eating and stepped outside, Ariana said, "I think you've made a big step today. I'm really happy for you." Jonas looked down at his outfit, ran a finger along the scarf, and looked back at her. "I'm glad I didn't back out," he said. "Thanks for being with me." Luke said, "Anytime, man." They parted ways. Jonas walked back to his apartment alone as dusk settled. The city lights flickered on, and he could hear distant music and voices echoing through the streets. He moved more confidently now. At his doorstep, he paused and glanced at his reflection in the building's glass door. He saw himself as he was, wearing what he chose to wear, and that was enough. Inside his apartment, he folded the skirt and blouse neatly and placed them in the closet. He didn't feel the same fear that used to grip him. There were still challenges ahead, he knew that. Not everyone would be understanding, and there might be moments that would shake him. But he had tasted what it felt like to move past hesitation, to stand in a crowd dressed in a way that truly reflected his own sense of style. Before settling in for the night, Jonas made a cup of tea and sat at the small desk, flipping through his design sketches. He felt more certain that he could incorporate these influences into his future work. Without using any specific words he wanted to avoid, he just acknowledged that he was finding a new place in his world. He sipped the tea and listened to the quiet hum of the city outside. He closed his eyes and imagined the day ahead, the week ahead, dressing as he pleased, meeting Ariana for coffee, maybe chatting with Luke again in the hallway, and continuing to explore new fabrics and patterns. When he opened his eyes, the anxiety that once weighed him down felt lighter. He stood up, looked at the mirror propped against the wall, and gave a small nod to the person looking back.
Did you like the story? Hit that like button and tell me what you thought in the comments. Do you want to hear more stories? Subscribe and hit the bell. For exclusive content and early access, check out our Patreon. You can find the link in the description, or you can watch any of the videos shown on my right. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.